I wrote a play, a couple of plays, one of which was produced called The Secret Place. Me and a man, a very fine director by the name of Bill Duke. I don't know if you know who Bill is. Bill directed, among other things, Cemetery, Hoodlum, and Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. He and I did a play called The Secret Place. And when Lorne Michaels came to New York City, he was looking for, among other things, a black writer. Among the 50 million writers he was going to have, he wanted one black writer. And they figured I fit that category. I don't know why. So I brought the play, and Lorne read it and asked me to be a member of the writers. And from that, I graduated to become a member of the Not Ready for Primetime Players when Gilda, Lorraine, Jane, and John told Lauren that I had done a movie called Cooley High, which was a movie that Michael Schultz directed. And I came in one day, and Lauren was, I was told to go to the green room, and I go to the green room, and they're looking at Cooley High, and Lauren is looking at it, and he says, I want you to, because up until then, I had been the conduit for black performers to come in, so I've been bringing in people to audition, not myself. And he said, I want you to audition. So I auditioned I improv'd for him with Gilda. Gilda and I improv. She was the improv. I'll never forget it. The premise was that I was a taxi driver driving her from JFK into New York, and she was my passenger. You know what happened. I cheated the hell out of her and drove her all around Bronx, Staten Island before we finally got to Manhattan. And, and Gilda's such a great lady to improv with. It was like falling off a log. Before the show even was really officially on, we hadn't, I was there from the very beginning. I was there before they even started writing the show. He was working on ideas, but he hadn't gotten all the writers together or anything. So basically, I was there from the beginning. All he had to do was say, I got a paycheck, I want you as a writer. So when I got there, I began to realize that the show was pretty much down my alley, except that it was going to be about comedy, because I was not unused to improvising, except that I improvised with a more militant edge to my improvisation. Again, I'm not explaining it because it's just in the 60s when a lot of stuff we were doing was about trying to deal with crime and dope addiction and stuff like that in the ghetto and stuff like that. So a lot of the workshops that I worked at were about the anger that black communities had about this. So in those workshops, our improv went from like hate whitey to like kill whitey. That's about the space, right? So I get into Saturday Night Live with people who have worked on a more extended way of communicating. And so for me, I was not worried about getting laughs when I realized I should be, because whatever these guys are doing, they improvise, but they're getting laughs. So for about a year and a half or so, my problem was trying to get out of that way that I used to improvise, which was not to worry about the laughs, worry more about saying something significant about this moment and how it applies to some social problem. When I began to get that together, I was inundated with this pressure, but I also began to realize that I was in a show that was saying some stuff that was different, that sort of like the show I'm in now, because I wonder how we get away with some of the stuff we say on Two Broke Girls. But then, even with Saturday Night Live back then, there was stuff you could do that you can do now easy. I mean, there were jokes about Jesus, for instance. You couldn't do any jokes about Jesus, but nowadays, every other joke, Now you can't do jokes about Allah. I will not do it, except that he's a great person, a great and holy person. Blessed be his name. Other than that, I have nothing to say about Allah. I wish him well. But took about a year and a half to realize that this show, was particularly because it was in the hands of Lorne Michaels. He knew what he was doing, and there was a certain group that, if you know your group and you can appeal to that group, then you're going to go. Because he wasn't, he knew that it's not sort of like, can I call the names? Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Sort of like a Dane Cook, you know. You have to be a certain person to like Dane Cook. Now he gets a lot of people, but they're special people. Okay, so you have to know how to aim at those people, and you'll have a couple of thousand every concert, right? So basically, that is what people who were involved with the PR at that time they knew that there's a more progressive, can I use that word, type of person in the '70s who was open to the same kind of person who made All in the Family successful. For instance, is the kind of person, same kind of person who made Laugh-In successful. Or the same kind of person who liked oh, what's his name? Who with the monkeys? Ernie Kovacs. That kind of a person is what, and you see what happened. So I began to realize that that's what they were aiming at. And although I came out of a more black militant kind of a background, there's a lot of comedy. I come out of Red Fox, Slappy White. So my background was very much into that. All right. So Moms Mabley, George Carlin. It's not all black, but I'm saying that kind of approach, Mort Saul, that kind of approach fits more the way I thought anyway. So all I had to do was get myself up out of the hate Whitey, kill Whitey syndrome, and which can work sometimes.